the Houston Port Authority, Ship Channel, I view, as you point out, with the Bin Laden compound, is probably one of the top targets. It provides energy for the entire nation. And so it's critical, whether it's UASI or COPS, that I think you get those resources. We talked about that. We also discussed the drug cartel threat in the Harris County region. There is one model that I wanted you to expand upon in your testimony. You talked about the Houston Ship Channel Security District, and it's sort of a co-op of regional companies that band together, authorized under state law, to provide security. I think that's sort of an interesting model that I think we can learn from on this committee. Can you sort of describe how that works?
Surely. There are approximately 100 private sector companies that have agreed with the enabling state legislation that was provided to assess themselves, tax themselves, even a little bit more so, to provide additional resources to the county so that we can provide the work that we're doing. I think the fact that those particular private companies have come together in recognition of the need that there is, and the fact that they can't expect the local governments to do it all, they have become an incredible partner in making sure that certain priorities do become realities. They also have a governing board that allows for good work to occur in that regard, and I have here a little bit of how that particular process works, and it is here it is. It's the Ship Channel Security District has 8 cities that it has to also coordinate with, not including the Texas Department of Transportation, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, the county's Office of Emergency Management, and other agencies, and as well as the University of Houston. The district has an 11-member board, 8 of which of whose members come from the private industry. 8 of those members come from one of our 4 ship channel zones. 1 board member is appointed by the Harris County Mayors and Councils Association, which has 36 other member cities, but the appointee has to come from one of the 8 cities along the ship channel. So this is a very good model, and I would encourage this body to further look at how that's worked well for us.
Madam Chair, as we talk, the theme of this hearing is cooperation to enhance security, and I think this is a great model that works, that could be a good model to apply across the country. And you mentioned the helicopter drones, which I think is a very interesting idea, a lot more cost-effective, and perhaps, General, you can provide some assistance with that effort. I think that would be a very cost-effective way to patrol the Houston Port Authority and Ship Channel. And while we have you on this topic, General, I can't help myself but ask, if there are going to be additional UAVs deployed, do you anticipate any of those being deployed in Texas?
Recall there were 2 added assets that you all were supportive of, and the first one of those will be going to NAS Corpus Christi. Okay. That will give us a Predator, so with the synthetic capture radar, which is very important for the hurricane, where 3 years ago we flew the coastal line all across Texas, all across Florida, Louisiana, up to Dover, Delaware. So those data maps are there. The second aircraft will be going to Sierra Vista, and that will give us 6 aircraft on the southwest border. And because of the ops concept and the way we fly them, on any given day, there could be 3 or more aircraft in Texas. And they're routinely now flying nightly, not only in the Rio Grande Valley, but up through Laredo and up to El Paso and across the top part of Texas from Sierra Vista. So those 6 aircraft you can think about as being interchangeable, but recall that it's not just the aircraft, it's the ground support equipment, the GCSs, all the infrastructure that are necessary to make all those things work. So initially, there'll just be the 2 aircraft in Corpus and 4 at Sierra Vista. And then the Guardian, we think, will probably be deployed out of the Cape. That'll give us 2 Guardians there, one for deployed activity and one to support the Caribbean. So slowly but surely, we're laying in the UAS assets across the country to provide a very critical national contingency response. 2 weeks ago, we flew the Mississippi Valley. That's the first time ever the Reaper-class vehicles have flown that far. They flew from New Orleans all the way up to Memphis. Today, we're flying, at the request of NOAA, the floods in Iowa, and we're prepping for more work in North Dakota, and we flew floods there a couple weeks ago. So not only are these assets important for security, but they give us a unique and unprecedented capability for a wide variety of national contingency response.
I agree, and thank you for that. And Admiral, final question. When I went on a delegation to Colombia, Panama, and then Mexico City, when we were in Panama, the Panamanian president made an interesting observation. He said, you know, the canal is really the choke point. And when we talk about drug interdiction, they basically go, these boats, these fast boats will go, and submersibles will go around the canal and load off into Mexico and Guatemala. He recommended the idea of naval ships down there and Coast Guard assets to basically choke it. I mean, it's a natural choke point. And if we could get more assets down there, we could literally stop, I believe, a tremendous amount of flow of narcotics going south, north into Mexico, and then into the United States. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I've spent the better part of my career chasing Go Fast, and then they changed to semi-submersibles. Today, a year ago, we saw about 60% of the drugs coming up the Eastern Pacific, 40% in the Western Caribbean. Today, it's about 50-50. We're seeing what used to be average loads of up to 5,000 kilos are now down to about 1,600, but still significant loads. But they're running in the littoral areas, typically in Go Fast with relatively smaller loads, but they're spreading the risk out by making multiple runs, and all of these are running typically starting in the source zones, in the jungles of Colombia, where the loads are first picked up, and then they'll follow along the Gulf of Panama, bypassing, you know, their objective is to avoid detection. So they'll stay out of any primary shipping lanes, and then typically they'll make the run at night, and then make the deliveries in the Eastern Pacific is typically in Guatemala, and then those loads are broken down eventually into Mexico and then into smaller loads as they come into the United States. We're seeing similar challenges in the Western Caribbean with Honduras. So really no clear choke point, if you will. And our real challenge has been in being able to put enough resources down there, both Navy and Coast Guard. While we have the authorities, again, that does become a resource challenge of how do you cover an expanse that's literally the size of the United States, and on any given day you're looking for one or two small boats, so that does become a challenge. Air surveillance, intelligence are key enablers in that, so as we do these interdictions, we really need to get the prosecution. That's where we get the pocket litter that feeds that intelligence cycle to know where we need to position resources, because we can't be the cop on the beat at all places at all times, but we haven't found that natural choke point in those shipping areas. They are watching us as much as we're trying to find them.
So they keep changing the game. When you go to one place, they go somewhere else.
That's correct.
But I see my time's expired. Thank you.